He's the one and only Jerry Coleman. Jerry, what's happening?
Life comes at you fast. How are you guys?
That's right. Things in that rearview mirror are closer than they appear. Jerry, of course, with the Be More Sports podcast, 40 for baseball, and Mike Preston for the National Football League. So you guys had old Harbsy on yesterday. I saw that. And what was the fascinating tidbits, a couple of them, for John Harbaugh, meeting with the Baltimore media for the first time since he was removed as head coach of the Ravens, and seemed to be Jerry in good spirits.
He was. To be candid, I did not know he was doing the car wash, but what I do know for a fact is we had him on first and for the longest period of time, because I know that Mike was getting texts as the Giants PR department was sitting in on the interview, texting us, hey, wrap it up. And it's like, what do we care what the Giants PR department has to say? And Harbs never said, hey, let's wrap it up. So we went about 30-some minutes, and he hit on a litany of topics that I think the fans wanted to know about, from his relationship with Lamar to Eric DaCosta, Steve Bisciotti, the way he was fired, the question I asked at the press conference that, my jaw dropped when he said that, within a week was the answer about whether or not Tyler Loop made that field goal. Was he still going to fire his coach? So that was kind of surprising, and Harbaugh pressed me as to why I didn't follow up on that.
Correct.
Talked about Mike McDonald coming from an intern to a Super Bowl winning coach, and had some things to say about dealing with the New York media, which may make some headlines up there, and also about, the fact that Todd Monken was the guy he wanted to be his offensive coordinator in New York, which I'm sure is great news to Matt Nagy. But, of course, Todd took the job in Cleveland.
Now, what did John say about Jesse Minter replacing him as the head coach? Minter was on John Harbaugh's staff back in the early Lamar era here in Baltimore.
Well, obviously he was proud, but the one thing that stuck out to me, Bob, was he said that Baltimore is still going to be Baltimore, that not much is going to change, even though, he's a lot younger coaching staff now, and I worry about the players walking over the coaches that are just coming in, many from the college ranks. But he thinks Jesse Minter obviously is going to do great. He's known him since I think he was 15 years old, and he, believes in some of the guys that he's keeping around, from Randy Brown to Anthony Levine, the addition of Anthony Weaver, which is surprising since he passed him over twice as defensive coordinator, but said he's going to be a great asset.
Well, speaking of Weaver there, does it just feel like this is a one-year thing for him? Because he's been getting this head coaching interest for a while, interviewed with a ton of people in this cycle, including the Ravens, and then to land a DC job where you're not even going to be the one calling plays. If they have success this year, he'll be attractive again. Just feels kind of like a stopgap thing.
That's exactly what you said, Nolan. If he has success, he will get some more opportunities to become a defensive coordinator and be able to call his own plays. If not, then he will remain in the background because he's had those duties stripped of him. But I'm sure he's going to be relied upon a lot by Jesse and the rest of the defensive staff. So if they have a great year, yes, it will raise his profile undoubtedly.
Now back to the Harbaugh interview there, and you've talked to him, you've interviewed him as much as anyone since he arrived here in 2008. When you talk to him, especially in more of a, long form interview like you had this week, how do you kind of sort through when he's just giving you coach speak and blowing smoke, giving the safe answer, and when he's actually divulging something interesting? Like, can you read his tells at all? Have you developed that talking to him so much?
Oh, yeah. After 18 years, definitely. And with Lamar, he was tiptoeing with other topics, whether it be Steve Bisciotti or even Eric, or situations he dealt with here in Baltimore, with certain journalists or stuff like that. He doesn't seem to care anymore, or maybe he once did when he was employed here. He admitted he wanted to stay here. He was shocked by the dismissal, and also said he was never taking a year off, which I completely believe, because I thought it was a little arrogant. I said this before on Steve Bisciotti's part, even though he was going to pay him the money to take the year off, to say, I suggested to John he'd take a year off. John's a coach. He got a great opportunity. The Giants wouldn't let him out of the building. So he said a lot of stuff. And again, the Giants PR people were sitting in on the interview. So I'm sure they were looking at each other like, hopefully he's not saying something again crazy.
Jerry Coleman, Be More Sports Podcast, Mike Preston on the Ravens side, and Oriole Hall of Famer Mike Bordick on the Orioles side. Jerry, if you don't mind, let's transition to the Orioles. They bring in Chris Bassett, 1 year, $18.5 million. He'll turn 37 years old here shortly. And then the Jackson Holiday, Westberg injuries. Holiday's more severe, at least, that we know of for now. Mike Elias, you talk about guys, Hyde's gone. Harbs is gone. Willard pieced out on Maryland. The three biggest sports entities in this city, all of their coaches / managers moved on to other destinations for various different reasons. But is Mike Elias a guy, depending on this year's results, could be maybe facing a hot seat situation going into 27? Don't want to look too far ahead because a lot of fans, as you know, Jerry, are not real happy with the fact that they did not. Screw you, Pete Alonso. Screw you, Taylor Ward. We didn't go get a number one starting pitcher, at least for now. Is that going to put him still in the crosshairs maybe of David Rubenstein if the results aren't what they expect them to be?
I think a lot of that depends on the performance, the fan reaction, and attendance. And all three, if they go a negative way, that could lead to change. But right now, I would say no. And the fact is, he went out and got to make good with Chris Bassett, who's 36, 18 million. I hope he makes it through the year. He's a solid addition. He is certainly not an ace. It's kind of a makeup call. We'll see what it does for the rotation. It definitely adds depth. As far as Jackson Holiday, that came as a complete surprise, but so did Kyle Bradish and John Means, and last year was Mateo and Rogers. So I knew when Mike Elias spoke on Tuesday, they said no injury questions could be asked before the press conference on Zoom began, which I found kind of odd. And then that was the news we found out. Not only that, but Westberg. So that's a little disconcerting to start spring training if these guys are injured, before we even play a game.
And that kind of the MO, though?
And I'll say real quickly, Bob, no, with all due respect to Chris Bassett, nobody is going to buy a ticket to go out and see Chris Bassett pitch besides his family.
Jerry Coleman, what's happening on the Be More Sports Podcast as football comes to an end, except for, you got the Lamar contract renegotiation and, obviously the free agency looming and this fun stuff. But what's going on with Bordy and you and everything going on with the Be More Sports Podcast baseball-wise?
Yeah, we will get started on March the 18th, right after St. Patrick's Day. I'm heading down to spring training on February the 24th. I'll put it out there. Anyone who's going down to spring training and wants tips on where to stay, beaches, bars, whatever, and the ballpark, hit me up on social media. I got all the insight for that. So looking forward to that. And we'll resume season 4 of the Be More Baseball Podcast. But I would encourage everyone to go to Be More Sports Pod, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, and catch what John Harbaugh had to say over 30 minutes. He even had a story that I've never heard before about him and his brother. So it was really good stuff, Bob. And thanks for having me on as always.
And don't forget, everyone, with Jerry and the Be More Sports Podcast, it's unparalleled access to the Orioles and the Ravens because he's been doing it longer than anyone. And your exclusive interview was more exclusive than everybody else's, correct?
I would say that because we went first. And here's how I know this. He told me it, A. B, we had to fix his microphone for everyone else that went after us. So when he first came on, his microphone was like third grade level. Thank God he had his intern in there.
Jerry Coleman, always great to talk to you. Have fun down in Sarasota if we don't talk to you before then, but we'll certainly talk before you even know what's happening.
Before then.
You got it, bro.
Yeah, we'll talk before then. All right, see you soon.
There's Jerry Coleman, everybody.